G'day, welcome out there to YouTube, everyone. Welcome back to the HEX Late Show. We're back for another episode, and good to see you all here. How you going over here, Airdrop Central? Mate, I think we're going to need a bigger boat. How you going?
You're going well.
I'm good, mate. How are you?
That's good. Hey, Bluey, how about yourself, mate? How are you travelling?
Excellent, very good. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, what a massive week. And
Never a dull moment, is there?
Never a dull moment.
Massive day.
Massive day.
Yes. Well, let's talk about that. What's the first thing we want to say is basically, the first thing I want to do is basically shout out to I guess what do we call the Richard Hart's. He's created a new suit of cards. I think he's pulled out the Ace of Straight today, and it's been the end of the sacrifice phase. But just a shout out to the SENS Foundation, raised over $27 million for medical research, something that might save each and every one of our lives, or extend our lives and have a better quality of life into the future. So hats off to Richard Hart for that initiative, and onward and upward to the Pulse chain. Day 43, what's your take on what's been happening, mate? Got any?
Just come back to me, mate. I've got a crying baby in the background, so.
Oh, okay. I didn't hear you there. Jexa, you seem to have you've got your finger on the pulse. Have been working with some numbers and crunches the numbers on the total supply.
Yeah. So later on we can delve into that and have a look at what we think the total supply is going to look like, and what's sort of come off the back of what was a pretty fiery end to the last 19 days. Not totally unexpected what we've seen, but definitely a show of strength was made. We can have a little bit of a chat about that, I guess.
Oh, sorry, I meant to say Bluey's invited a special guest on tonight. We've got 10billion here, and he's our special guest for the night. We're just going to bring him in and say g'day, Bluey. Mate, that's good work, mate.
Hello.
10billion.
How are you?
Sorry, can you just say that again, 10billion? You're breaking up a little bit.
We'll just check everyone's connection.
It's a bit of lag.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's only got like one red bar. Maybe turn your camera off or something.
Yeah, maybe turn the camera off, mate.
I thought no one's internet could get worse than Australians' internet.
Yeah, I know. We had the bad internet. What's going on here?
10billion, you want to give a bit of an intro, Bluey, about what 10hexgraphs.com? Anyone who's been in HEX for any length of time will be aware of the hexgraphs.com website.
Yes.
And there's some sensational resources there for hexagons. I'll just bring that up while we're waiting for that connection issue.
This is a full-time job what he does, man, because he updates those constantly, and there is a lot of charts in there.
And they're fantastic charts.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to point out this site is perfect for your friends who are just starting to ask things like, so what are T-shares? And just, for the people who just want to start doing a little bit more digging, this is the chart. This is the website, because it's got fantastic instructional videos and also explanations of stuff. I really enjoyed. I was really getting into the shares graphs.
Yep.
If you go up onto the left-hand side, you can if you just hit shares, right up on the top on the left-hand side.
Yeah. I was looking at these ones, so yeah, I know what you're saying, because it talks about, and not only has he got the great infographic, with the graph and the actual, facts of what HEX does. And here's another little great video too. If you want to learn about staking ladders, I highly recommend this little video to everyone. And then if you really want to get a bit of a deep dive on stakes and shares and the synthetic mechanism that HEX process, Dev Kyle explains it beautifully. No one explains it as well as Kyle. So
the man that invented it.
So look at this stuff. I mean, this stuff is great. This is sensational, Bluey. All of this. If you go right,
this one here,
you go back up.
The total amount of shares, I find that really interesting, because although everyone, and we were talking about this last week, how everyone thinks shares will become deflationary, but from what it looks like from that graph, the shares are increasing at a very, very slight rate as more and more people stake, and they've got quite a bit to grow. And I think it's going to take quite a while before they get to any kind of like deflationary status.
Yeah,
we discussed this last week. I completely disagree with you on this.
It says that they deflate. They will deflate over time. Let's not get into a debate. We had that discussion last week. There's more. I think we want to I think there's probably some more value in let's just first of all say good day to Mr. Tangent, because Tangent's been sitting here for 5 minutes just having a listen. Say good day to Tangent. He's our resident.
Hey guys, no stress at all. Take your time.
No, that's right. Well, we need to unpack this stuff. So it's there's probably more, I guess, debate or confusion around stakes and shares than anything else within the system. And I think the other area that trips people up is the good accounting. And look, we don't profess to know everything over here. By the way, we're learning too. Sometimes we get it wrong. So just be aware that we don't have all the answers. Within this space, but we try. We're trying to keep up with it and keep ahead of the curve. And yeah, mate. So I'm not sure what happened to our guest. He's dialing in from, is it Switzerland, Bluey?
I guess so. Europe somewhere. I think, I'm not sure.
Somewhere in Europe. Yeah. So, but anyway, look, it's a great resource for hexagons and no coiners, as you rightly point out. This is a really good place to direct people if they want to try and get a little bit more understanding about game theory, particularly to do with hex. Now, coming back around to sort of loop back around to day 43. Are you okay to talk now, mate? You haven't got the a hungry baby at the moment?
No, she's being fed. It's all good.
That's good. Just so, mate, because I think like there's the game theory. The game theory is different for everyone. So, would you say like I sort of alluded to it before about Richard Hart might have a few aces up his sleeve, or not? No, I shouldn't even say Richard Hart. I should say there was some interesting plays today at the end of the sacrifice. Do you guys want to sort of disseminate that and talk about what happened today with the sacrifice?
Can I quickly talk about when we're talking about Richard Hart, like specifically, if we're going to talk about Richard Hart, let's talk about the amazing thing that he is putting together. That's a fork of Ethereum called Pulse. Let's talk about that for a second. So the issue with that we seem to have with Ethereum is that it's not usable. They put up the fees to do computation, reading from the disk, and that is just making it unusable. So Richard Hart is forking Ethereum. He's creating Pulse Chain. Transacting on Pulse Chain is going to be extremely cheap. It's going to be extremely cheap for contracts to do computation. And I think it's just going to make the experience a lot better for a lot of projects that are out there. And it is going to make life a lot easier for the product that is HEX and the HEX contract. So, I think he does have aces up his sleeve. I think he knows what he's talking about. I don't think there are many people who have the just the understanding of the whole system, like everything as a whole, and can piece things together the way that he can. So anyone who's sacrificed for Pulse, well done. I think it's going to be a winner, really do. But how you going, Alexa 10? How are you, mate?
I'm fine. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Cool. Nice to meet you finally. The HEX community, the community from Australia, I think is number 4 or number 5 on my website.
Yeah, right.
We appreciate that, mate.
We better push up. We better like spread the good word there and push up. Then we'll see you in the HEX Australia chat. So that's good. Louis.
I've been to Australia a couple of times. It's a very beautiful country.
Yeah, cool. So what
metric is that? Where are you, mate? Whereabouts are you calling in from? If you don't mind me asking. That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought so. Yeah.
I live where you don't have to pay taxes on capital gains.
Oh, nice.
you might have a few more neighbours soon.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I originally come from Germany, but I moved to Switzerland some 11 years ago, and I like it here. It's cool.
Fantastic. And how did you kind of like what's your crypto journey been? Like, how did you hear about crypto and then hear about HEX?
Well, I first started to get in contact with Bitcoin 2013, but I didn't do anything. I actually invested in 2016 and went into Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin. I tried everything. Also, alternative cryptos and so on and so forth. But it was a zero-sum gain. I went all the way up in 2017 and then back down. But I learned a lot of about the space and about the scams and all the bullshit that's going on. And of course, my path was crossing with Richard. I saw some of his videos, and I kind of liked what he was saying. And it was, I basically had the same experience from my experience was matching with the experience from what was Richard was telling, and I felt that he's telling the truth. And not many people do that. So when I heard that he's going to have his own coin and it's going to have interest, I was immediately very interested in it because I come from the financial industry. I have a very big background in financials. I was working as a fund manager and asset manager, and I'm still working as a family officer at the moment. So yeah, I like the concept. I like the guy. And Richard is basically the main reason why I went into HEX, because I thought if you invest in something, you need a strong leader that knows what he's doing and can turn things into reality. And I think that's the problem with Bitcoin and Ethereum and many other coins. There's too many cooks in the kitchen and nothing gets done. And I prefer a situation where you have one person who really knows who is doing, who's absolutely engaged. And you see it happening right now with the situation on Ethereum and the fees. And what looked like a disaster with the high fees is soon going to be turned into a victory, according to my books. And what we saw yesterday night with the launch, with the last day in Pulse chain and the OA moving in, I think that's a very good sign, because that's basically the same thing that happened in HEX with the last day of their what was it called?
Big payday.
The big payday, yeah, exactly. It was exactly the same thing. The OA moved in just to avoid that, all the people will dump their HEX on the next couple of days. And in the end, I think we all got rewarded. And now we have the same situation again. The OA is taking control here. And I think it will reduce, in the end, the supply that is going to possibly going onto the market. And on the other side, you have an increasing adoption happening in Pulse, combined with the fee burning. I think it's very, very bullish. So I'm very happy today.
Yeah. How do you, as someone close to kind of like the graphs and stuff, how do you see the two hexes on the different chains playing out? Like, what different behaviors do you think we'll see on each?
Well, to me, I think Richard said it many times that he doesn't want to see any cheap HEX, and I completely get that, because HEX going down to 1 cent or below 1 cent would not be a good, good for the PR or whatever you want to call it. So I think HEX will be or could turn into an institutional HEX, and PHEX on Pulse chain could turn into a retail version of HEX. Why? Because it's much cheaper there and faster. And institutional investors and investors who have been with HEX from the very beginning, who have stakes that are pretty valuable, they don't mind to pay $50 or $100 to end stake a stake that is $10,000 or $100,000 worth. So I see eHEX as a possible institutional version and pHEX as a possible retail version. And I also think if there's going to be a big discrepancy between, for example, interests because of different staking behaviors between the two chains, there will be opportunities. There will be opportunities, and the money always goes to where it's treated best. So if you get a much more reward, for example, higher interest on eHEX because there's less stakers there, I'm sure people will move there.
Mm-hmm. Did I hear you right? You said you work for a family office?
Yeah.
Just congratulations to 10 It's great to have you on the journey. It's great to have you in HEX, mate. And I've really, really thoroughly enjoyed your website, like pretty much since its inception in the early days, and the fact that like just the colors, the way that the graphs pop, and the fact that you analyze it and you actually put some phrasing and terminology to help people understand it is just, it's brilliant, mate. And I just want to just congratulate you on your website, and thanks for joining us. And Jexa, sorry, mate, you go.
Yeah, that's right. So you've obviously, being in that sort of role, you'll be privy to some of the insights on the way family offices operate and the type of investments they look for. Yes. Have they actually had a look at HEX, and how do they, if they have, how do they view something like that, or is it too speculative for these guys?
Well, I stopped working for the industry. I'm only working for one family office, which is basically one rich guy in Germany. But yeah, I finally turned him into a Hexagon and
oh, well, hopefully he'll bring all his family office buddies along with him.
Hey, it looks like we've got a little bit of a pump in, boys. Looks like we're getting a little bit of a pump in.
I live near Lake Zurich, and I know at least 120 family offices here, and they're all looking for a decorrelated performing asset which is interest bearing.
It's crazy, and it's staring us all in the face, but for some reason we feel like we're in upside down town at the moment, and everyone else can't see it.
The point is we are very, very, very early, and the big institutional investors, they always look for safety and security.
Yeah.
And the whole space is, it's like the internet in the 90s. It's so difficult with all the procedures and the wallets, and then you have to have a trezor and this and that and the other, and there's no direct onboarding from paper money into crypto money and so on and so forth. It's way too complicated, but that's going to change in the future, I think, and this is when the big money will move in, and Richard knows that also, and I think no expectations from the work of others, but we know that Richard is also talking to some, I don't know, Harvard guys or whatever, and they're working on on his version of a grayscale fund for HEX. So once that is happening, we will have a vehicle with an icing code or whatever that institutional investors can invest in without having to go to the trouble of having wallets and stuff. They just can buy shares like shares on the stock market. And that will open up the gates, I think, to Wall Streets and institutional investors. At least there's a potential for that.
Yeah. Well, it took, in all honesty, Grayscale and Galaxy and all that, those guys probably took a good 5 or 6 years for Bitcoin to be established before they were comfortable coming in. And now we're talking 10 to 12 years before the more mainstream, or really the early adopter institutions are looking at it now. Yes. So Bitcoin's still got a long way to go before it's going to be in everyone's asset portfolio. HEX has got a lot of room to grow, and we've got to go through that same journey as well. We'll have to build up enough economic mass to give these larger people confidence that they can come in heavy and they're not trying to break the ground. The ground's already been broken for them.
Hey, quick shout out to the chat, everyone in the chat. Hey, super sticker from Cape Vigor, thank you. Appreciate that. video game controller dancers go Philly under the word woot. I'm not sure what that means, but back in the day, those coin ops, they were big business. All right.
So the other problem with adoption is there's so many scams around, and for institutional investors, that doesn't look really good. But on the other side, we know that digital money is wanted by the powers to be. Everything is going to be digitalized, and that the blockchain is super transparent, and HEX is very transparent, and that is something they like and they want. All that's needed is, and it will be coming, is things will be more taxed, and there will be more regulations. So, but for example, if I do my tax declaration here in Switzerland, which is like a software program, it's really straightforward, but I already have a drop-down menu for the 10 largest cryptocurrencies within my tax declaration. So they also want to participate in it, and they are participating. And I know, for example, here in Switzerland, there is the BIS, which is the most important bank that people don't know, is the Bank for International Settlement. That is the central bank of the central banks. It's situated in Basel. And they are working together with the Swiss National Bank and the SIX Group on their version of a cryptocurrency, which will be a digital cryptocurrency, a state cryptocurrency, and the same, the ECB, the European Central Bank, they are also working on a cryptocurrency, but that cryptocurrency will not be interest-bearing, and they need until at least 2026. So I think that's all very good and bullish news for private coins, because we are much faster, much more faster. And
the horse will be well and truly bolted by then, won't it, Alexa? Hey, I've heard a saying. If you could maybe help us who have never been to Switzerland and that, but I have heard a story that you should never come between a Swiss banker and a franc. Is that true? Is that a true statement?
You should never come between a Swiss franc and a Swiss bank.
No, a Swiss banker and a franc.
I have no idea. I've worked here in Switzerland, also in the financial industry, and the industry is very big here, but the industry is very big everywhere. It's big in London, it's big in New York. But yeah, Switzerland is playing a very important role, and we have a small town. It's called Zug. Wow. And it's called the Swiss Crypto Valley, basically. A lot of foundations are residing there. I think Cardano Foundation is there, Ethereum Foundation is there, and so on and so forth. So Switzerland is pretty crypto-friendly, yeah.
Very good. Well, that's very interesting, isn't it? I think Europe's a very interesting place, and we've been talking a lot to some of the European hexagons, and I'm very keen to head across to Europe at some stage if the borders ever open up. Just one of those bucket list items, I think Europe's a very interesting place, and the fact that you can sort of get around to all the countries like that, and you've got all those cultures compressed into small geographic areas, very, very interesting to me, and I'm intrigued to learn and go over there and experience and check it out. Definitely, why not?
Check it out, mate. And the way the price is pumping right now, we're over 13 cents. We are pumping. Look at that green.
We might not even need a plane for it.
Look at that green candle. Can anyone see that green candle? Someone bring up a chart, please.
We've got Tangent in the house, so let's go straight to the.
Look at that candle.
Again, the man who knows.
I actually just posted in the chat recently saying, guys, the price is going to pump for the rest of the stream because it's customary for when we're streaming. Look at this thing. So this is 1 hour candles. They're all green. Several of us predicted this, that once the sacrifice phase ended, there would be less reasons for whales to suppress the price if it was even happening at all, and go and pump. So I've basically been watching 2 descending triangles that have been sort of concerning me from a technical analysis point of view, but not so much from a fundamental point of view. You can see this one here with this light blue dotted line and then this dark blue dotted line. And those are the 2 targets of those triangles, assuming they break to the upside, which according to TA is normally less likely. But we know with HEX, it kind of turns the tables. The upside is always the more likely side. So yeah, now it looks like we're well on our way. No matter how you draw these triangles or these downtrends, it looks like we've broken out now. And if I flick over to this is the HEX price against ETH, we've well and truly broken out of that downtrend. So we had this downtrend that I was following, and that's been pretty savage. It's been pretty ongoing. That's all the way back in 16th of July. So that's 2 weeks where the HEX price has been trending down, and now it looks that's pretty much the whole sacrifice phase, isn't it?
Yeah. So that was a really good bull flag, but then it just got extended because there was the fundamental things with the sacrifice phase going on. That just there was no reason for price to pump. It was in everyone's interest to have the price suppressed if they'd already sacrificed.
Yep.
Hey guys, we've got a super chat here from Bitfinesse. Thanks for the super chat, Bitfinesse. Legend, mate. Can you guys answer? Mr. Tangent, looks like a question for you, mate. Do you think gaps up on the chart of a 24-hour traded asset means liquidity providers suffered in permanent loss? We talked about V3 last week as well, but what do you reckon about that one, mate?
Gaps up.
Where are we seeing gaps up? I can't see how you'd have a gap up on Uniswap.
And also, that's not.
I understand the question. Trick question.
So there theoretically shouldn't be gaps on crypto charts.
No.
But
okay.
But sometimes if you go down to to low enough time frames, so see here, if you go down to a low enough time frame, you can find gaps, but it's usually just to do with the volume not being high enough. So you would be even less likely to see stuff like this on the US dollar pairing, because obviously over on the US pair, like HEX USD or whatever it is, you've got more liquidity. So I guess it is all related. Like the gaps are related to the liquidity and the size of the buying, and then just a component of luck that it's making that really fast move when the candle is clicking over. See what I'm saying?
Just on the time frame.
In theory, in crypto, there should be no gaps. Each candle close should start where the previous candle opened. But yeah, what was the rest of the question of it being liquidity providers losing money or something like that?
Impermanent loss, yeah.
Impermanent loss. Well, the impermanent loss actually happens regardless of whether there's gaps or not. So impermanent loss is something that happens just whenever the book is moving, regardless of gaps.
Oopsie. I'm getting fat-fingered there. Right.
But perhaps
thanks, Bitfinesse. Thanks for the super chat, mate. We appreciate
cheers.
that. We appreciate the support.
All right. Do we want to have a look at what happened on as the results from the Pulse chain sacrifice, and see if we can have a chat about possible supplies and things like that?
Supply. What's the Pulse? What do we anticipate the Pulse supply to be?
Hey guys, Sammy.
So has anyone in the chat? I don't know.
Sammy, your audio is something's wrong with your audio. It might be or something. If you've got Bluetooth happening, it's probably that.
Yeah, we can't hear Sammy.
No, that's not better.
That's
this did happen once before, actually. How did you fix it last time?
Try disconnecting your Bluetooth and reconnecting it.
Nah, you still sound like a computer.
Go into your settings.
Jexa.
So you've done the calculations, Jexa?
You've done a spreadsheet?
Yep. If you can pop that one up.
Yes,
Sammy's a Dalek. Was it Davros? Was that his name?
Davros, yeah.
All right. Okay, so let's just we'll have a bit of a look across this. And now let me preface this by saying these figures are not set in stone. They're not 100%. We're making some estimations on what's happened. So a few best guesses, and we'll go through where we've got some of the information from. So you can see we're thinking. So first and foremost, the total amount that was. Sorry, I'm getting a lot of feedback there. Anyone else? Yep. The total amount that was sacrificed into the so what I've made is an assumption here. This has gone into the ETH address, and then we've added a bit of allowance for Bitcoin and some of the other alternate chains that sacrificed as well. So that's not 100% that figure, but it's a good enough gauge. Now this figure here, this was actually pulled from, I think it's Dust Bum's sheet, where he actually went through and made a list of every single amount of points that every sacrifice address was receiving. So I've tallied up everything in that spreadsheet to arrive at this figure. Once again, it's not 100% accurate, but it's not a bad indicator. Then we had the 26 mil for the SENS Foundation. I think that's about right, wasn't it? That was where we landed, was 26 or 27 mil. And these guys, they get a different multiplier because they weren't getting the full swag because they were doing the donation. They were getting 75% credit. So that's how we've tallied up those sacrifice points from all the SENS donations. All right, then we had a ginormous move today in the last couple of hours of the sacrifice phase, where what we believe to be OA-related addresses have come in with quite a large number of sacrifices to the tune of about 13 billion. Now they've come in the last 3 days, and
13. Sorry, mate. $13 billion.
13 billion with a B.
Can we just ponder that for a second? $13 billion have been sacrificed for freedom of speech. Yeah, freedom of speech and censorship resistance on the blockchain. That's pretty amazing, yeah. 13 billion. That's the most ever ever in any blockchain. I mean, EOS. What did EOS do? 4 billion.
4 billion.
4 billion.
Mm-hmm.
Well, Pulse Chain has done 13 billion. 14 billion. Sorry, not 13 billion. 14 billion.
Mm-hmm. Pretty crazy effort, and it was pretty amazing to watch that happen in real time. Now, because all those addresses sacrificed in the last day, the multiplier they got, or the credits they got, was 8,837 per dollar. So we've estimated that that's put us at about 114. What's that? That's trillion, isn't it?
Yeah.
Trillion. Okay, so now that we know these three figures here, or we've got a rough idea of those, we know that we're going to have to use some of this supply, approximately 2.5% of that supply, to balance out the liquidity pools. So we can add another 3 trillion for that mechanism. And then the Genesis address is also going to take 1% of the supply. So I've taken all of these, summed those to give us a subtotal, and then added the 1%, or taken 1% of that total to give us what we think the Genesis address will get, which then gives us a possible total supply of 133 trillion. If we were then to take the total sacrificed value and divide that by the supply, this could give us a reasonable indicator of the market value of Pulse. Now, that is just total speculation, because we all know that when Pulse is dropped, it's going to be with no value. So the market, once we have some linkage back to the ETH network or to some bridge or something like that, and then the value is set initially, the market will be pretty wild, I think, and it's going to take a little while to settle down and do that price discovery and eventually settle on a price, much like we did when HEX first launched. It was a pretty wild ride, and then we formed what we call the all-time low, and then that's where when you hear us talk about how many X HEX has done, we do it from the all-time low. So yeah, it's going to be a bit of a wild ride once we do the actual airdrop, and I think you'll have a chance to move those tokens around before there's any value discovery. then bridges and dexes will open up, and then it's game on for the market to determine where the value is. So out of all of that, we thought it'd be interesting to then go one step further. Can you just pull that up again, day 43? So we went one step further and said, okay, if the current market cap of Bitcoin sits here at 723 billion and ETH sits at 290 billion, how many X would Pulse have to do to at least equal their market caps? So if we take this as our starting value, and if we done a 52X, that would get us to this price here on Pulse, and that would give us an equivalent market value of Bitcoin. 50X, to me, doesn't seem like too big a stretch from where we're coming from. Likewise with Ethereum, 20X, which would get us to 0.2% per Pulse, and that would get us at an equal footing with Ethereum's market cap. Now, obviously, these are all highly speculative. We don't know where this is going to sit, so take this with a grain of salt, but it's good to at least have a look at this and see where we may be sort of heading when we get to launch, or when we get to the airdrop
but we think the total supply is going to start. It's going to start around the 130 trillion mark, and because it's there's not going to be any extra Pulse ever minted. It's only ever going to get burnt when I think gas is going to get burnt. That's right. So it just means it's going to be deflationary over time. It's going to become less and less. So that highest figure that we see at the launch, that is going to be the highest figure, the highest circulating supply that there'll ever be in Pulse.
It's never going to get higher. It'll only go down from there. So that's why this does have such a large supply. Is if you're going to create a deflationary currency, you don't want to have a small unit or a small number of initial coins issued, because as it deflates, you just end up with a silly price per coin, and then you end up working in decimal places for standard pricing of things. I mean, we've all seen that with Bitcoin. If you want to buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin, you're using 0.0000234 or whatever it is. It's humans don't work well with decimals like that.
The other point I want to make is that we have seen the OA in HEX being a really positive force for the benefit of HEX, haven't we? I mean, have we ever seen the OA do anything that's negative for like HEX price? Has the OA ever sold? Has the OA ever done anything bad?
So people may not have liked what it done because it was counter to what they thought was going to happen, but it's always acted in the best interest of the network and of the broader participants. So maybe it didn't do what you thought it was going to do or what you wanted it to do, but it done it for the right reasons.
So given that we know that, right? We know that about the behavior of that entity or that, group of entities or whatever. And now it seems that there seems to be a bit of a link between those addresses sacrificing at the very end and the OA. Some sort of link, I don't know. I haven't done the chain analysis, I don't know, but let's just assume, right? I think it's fair to assume that sort of ethos or that behavior could migrate across the Pulse as well. Yeah, I do. I think that
I think that's fair.
Wanting the network to be healthy and wanting price appreciation, I feel that since that's what happened on that chain, on that contract, I think that could also happen on Pulse. That's what I make out.
It's the same game plan. It's pretty much the same game plan. Like, that means at the current rate, that means the OA has about 85, 86% of the total supply. So they're doing exactly the same thing that they did with HEX.
Mm-hmm.
And that hence we got the diamond, the story time diamonds.
So when we were on the 10 Alexa 10s page, one of the graphs was of HEX, right? And you could see that HEX has done this, amazing thing where it's just gone up and up and up, and it's done over a 4,000x over the course of 19, 20 months, whatever it is. It's like a year and a half. It's done.
Just put Jex's sheet that he was working on with the numbers crunching there into the chat if you guys want to have a bit of a look at that and play. Hey, could I just quickly interject a question for 10 Alexa 10? Mate, what's your, and I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know you have a lot of fun with working with the graphs and things like that. Which one that stands out for you? Which one do you think's got the best engagement? I mean, it's your, I know it's your area and you like working on that stuff, but out of all the graphs and PowerPoints and things that you put together and the information that you've shared on that hexgraph.com, what's your favorite part of that? What do you like? What do you enjoy the most out of sharing that with the community and the world more broadly?
Good question. For me personally, I think the share price. The share price is up 4,326x. That's pretty cool.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Oh, the share price is massive.
The share price is is an amazing graph. But yeah, people, I can see from the hit rate on my website, most of the graphs that people are looking at are the performance graphs. But the performance graphs usually don't represent the interest that you're making. So I started to publish some graphs. So if you, for example, go to my website under performance and look at the second graph that I published, I started to just scroll down a bit. That's a chart we can talk about as well, the first one. But let's look at the second one, this one. Yeah, so I started to publish basically a graph that's displaying HEX without interest and staked HEX with interest, just to show the people the difference that it's making at the end. And the difference is going to be larger and larger the longer you go, because we are talking about a cumulative effect on the interest. It's going to grow exponential, especially in the end if you have stakes running for 10 years or 15 years. It's the compounding effect. So that gap, which at the beginning of the graph you basically don't see a gap, but it's starting to grow and grow larger and larger. And just imagine how big the gap will be, for example, in 10 years. So that's the amazing power of an investment that is appreciating in price, multiplied by the interest. That's just insane.
It's crazy. It's crazy, isn't it? And some of the, look. I mean, you could do some rough maths or calculations on, that just based on that. That's almost like a yield curve that you can. I wouldn't say in terms of investment and risk. It's a fairly good. It's a fairly good investment, I would say, and it's reasonably low risk in the scheme of things compared to some of the other speculative assets and things that are around that can everything else around HEX is sort of getting rug pulled and tapped out, whereas HEX just keeps going on. That code just keeps running beautifully, 100% uptime, best game theory in crypto. Why wouldn't you put some money at it?
Yeah, well, if I make an investment, I always look at two parameters. In the beginning, I look at what's my risk and what's my chance. So I'm not interested in investments where the ratio between the chance and the risk is 1-to-1 or worse. So I look at investments where you have outside potential for the chance, and you can basically tailor the risk to your financial situation. So, for example, if you invest $1,000 into a very risky investment, which HEX is, all cryptocurrencies are risky, and you say, okay, I can sleep even if I lose those $1,000, then it's okay. And if you can't sleep, then just reduce it down to $500 or whatever you can invest without So if you lose it, your life will continue to go on as always. But the interesting point is you are basically managing your risk by the size of your investment. And on the other side, you have an exponentially larger chance on the gain side. I mean, where can you make 10x or 100x or 1000x in 1 year? Nowhere.
Nowhere. And that's I think a lot of hexagons are actually dealing with that now, with the fact that there has been so many outsized gains made in hex that, as you say, you've got to be able to sleep at night, and I think that's a really good approach to investment. Is only just don't bet the farm. Just put in small amounts and teach yourself how it works and what's going on there. And sometimes you've got to learn the hard way, but it hasn't been that way with hex. It's been perfect. It's been beautiful. It's been like a home run, as Tangent would say. It's smashing the prom queen while you're looking in the window, and it's just unstoppable. It just keeps going through them, isn't it?
And the way HEX is working with the staking mechanism, it basically prevents you from making mistakes. One of the mistakes being selling too early.
That's right. That is exactly right. The staking, actually, you're being paid to hold the price up. You're like, there's no negative externalities in HEX. There's no Bitcoin miners or Ethereum miners to take the fees and sell down the price. It's all just upward. It's really just upward momentum. Those pumpermentals that just keep the speculative stickiness to keep feeding and rotating and rolling over, and on it goes. It's brilliant.
I'm really interested to see how the dynamic works on Pulse chain, because we know that hexagons are going to be in the Pulse chain. They're going to be like this big group invested in Pulse. So it's going to be interesting to see how they deal with this. The freedom. The freedom, but just not
the responsibility, maybe. So that was going to be my statement. Then, have hexagons learnt enough? Do you think we've been paying attention, and we now understand that if you drop the bag too early, it's going to be costly?
Well, but there's one thing you have to understand, and the price of Pulse is determined by the adoption. So the adoption will take time. I mean, we can see from the Pulse chat, it's already larger than the HEX chat. So adoption is already happening. But I think to make really large gains with Pulse, you got to hold it a while. Why? Because of the fee burning. And the fee burning goes together with the adoption. The more adoption you have, the more transactions you have, the more fee burning you have, and the higher the price goes. It's just as simple as that. And the longer you wait, the more potential you have on your capital gain.
So at the moment, I think we would agree that Ethereum's fees, in terms of how much GWI you have to pay for things, at the moment has been pretty reasonable. Is not the right word, but it's been a lot less than what it has been recently. Yeah, but it's been better than what it has been for a long time. So I had a friend who's new to the space, but is a hexagon, and she's pretty good at using wallets and things like that. And was just tinkering around with OpenSea, and thought she'd just create an NFT and put it up there just for a bit of a giggle. So to put an NFT on OpenSea, and fees are reasonable at the moment, was $40 for a bit of a giggle, just to see how these things worked. So that platform on ETH is broken as shit. Like, you can't use it. No one's going to spend $40 to put up NFTs. And that's if you're just doing one for a giggle. If you're trying to create a set of bloody whatever they call punks, I don't know what they're all about. But if you're trying to do things like that, that
crypto kitties,
that platform is busted. So if you think that people aren't going to move to somewhere where they can operate, so it's pretty easy for them to come across, and all the NFTs that already exist on their platform will already be ported across, and now their users can do it for a couple of cents. It's pretty compelling. As much as you might like Ethereum, people are going to come across and use it where it's cheap. So
what about all this? What about all this shit talk now about, like, there's still a bit of, like, really everyone should be sharing the good news about the SENS, and I don't want to get into too much trouble, but people just don't, like, they think they're on the same level as Richard Hart, and they can step to him in like the crypto space, and they're just going in with a shit talk about this and that and the other. Like, come on, they just got to realise that this bloke's on another level of genius altogether compared to like some of these other crypto. I know people that have been around the block.
Anyone's done
5 minutes.
I don't think anyone's done as much for medical research as far as raising the funds. I mean, who else has raised that much funds in crypto? Like, what was it? 27 and a half, 28
yeah,
mil?
It's about at least over 27. Yeah.
I mean, that's serious money. That is serious money.
And it's not crypto money, like because we all see different balances in our accounts, and that's paper gains where it can fluctuate and can disappear at a moment's notice. This is locked in funds in the bank, doing real work in the real world.
And also,
it's
there's another point.
Hopefully going to extend all of our lives. Hopefully,
yep.
Yeah.
So
there's another point regarding Pulse. Richard is now sitting on over $200 million of cash that he just received in stable coins. Do you know what that means?
He's got a few. He's got the Ace of Strape up his sleeve, and he's got a few other cards that he can play as well. Hey,
next to
his Canberra, he's got a card. He's got an ace there, and I think it's like a strape. You know, like his cross between his grape and a strawberry. And I call him the ace. I call him the Ace of Strape. You know, because I've been back into the Skyvive stuff now, and it's great. It's great. Really a good read. I highly recommend everyone read, or at least go back and read Skyvive, free self-help books, and where he. It's almost like if you do read it, parts of the book feels like having a one-on-one conversation with God. So look, it's good stuff. It's good stuff, mate. And
there's another point to consider. I think Richard is not done. When you listen to him on his last stream, he says he has big visions and he's thinking about creating like a grayscale fund. He's great.
And look at the vision of Richard Hart. The vision of the visionary. He's a visionary man. He's a visionary man. He's a great man. And I think you nailed it there, Alexa. You know what? He thinks charity starts in the home. You can't help anyone in the world if you can't look after yourself and your family. So he's giving you the life hack tools, the HEX, the best crypto that pays trustless interest, that is the fastest appreciating asset class in the world. And now he's like, all right, because he knows somewhere out in the world the solution to his that can help him execute his vision is out there, and it's amongst the Hexicans, and that's why he's empowering all of you people, all of us, to come forward and say good things about HEX, and also to get the word out about the Sens Foundation donation and putting it out there. That's why we're trying to reach out. We're a message in a bottle. We want everyone to sort of like discover how good HEX is, like we have, and I think when you have that like that eureka moment with HEX, it's life changing. Pure and simple.
And what I really like is there's no HEX. There's no competition between Pulse and HEX. There's synergy effects between both of them, and he's piecing one piece to another. And in the end, for example, if he's he wants to create an exchange where you can. Okay, it's only going to be in Europe first, from what I understand. But that's exactly what the missing link. What we need is to be able to transport your paper money directly into HEX or into cryptocurrency. And once we've got that, I think onboarding will be so much more easy. And then you have the possibility to time lock your money with HEX, and you have Pulse as a token on the Pulse chain. It's just fantastic. And it's very complementary.
I'm interested to know how the Staker app is going to move forward. My understanding is there's going to be another Gnosis safe just for controlled by the same set of keys. There will be another Gnosis safe for. I hope I'm not. I don't even know if I should be saying this. I'm saying it. Fuck it. You guys get all the juicy bits from day 43. I believe there's going to be another Gnosis safe that handles the Pulse chain. And and then doing stakes and all of that is going to be super cheap, like exchanges. It's going to be a game changer once you start using the Staker app as well on Pulse chain. Yes. It really is going to be a game changer. I can't wait for it. Because people are going to be staking, unstaking. Like there's going to be a lot more going on with the staking. Like I think that a lot of the staking activity on the ETH network slowed down. People started consolidating what they were doing and doing bigger and whatever. But I think that's going to change. I think on the Pulse chain,
shorter, smaller stakes again.
It's going to be like a lot more, like just a few days.
That's going to be interesting because I think HEX on Ethereum could be like an institutional version, and HEX on Pulse could be like the retail version where you have different kind of stakes, shorter stakes and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, okay, the fees are important, but also the interest is important, and of course the price appreciation. And I think there will be good opportunities, for investments on both chains. That's at least the way I look at it.
So, Alexa, you mentioned something about investing what you're comfortable investing for your risk profile. And I think at the moment, to get into HEX, and even if you're using something like Stake, which makes it nice and easy, you're still looking at a minimum investment of $1,000 or $2,000 by the time you go through all the fees and things like that. So the on-ramping fees from fiat to crypto, and then exchanging into HEX, and then staking if you stake, it chews up a big portion of your investment if you're doing a low investment. So that has priced out a lot of people that would probably like to just dip their toe in the water, or people that are new and just want to see how it all works. So having that on Pulse now, that's going to mean that people that do have that lower risk profile or are really just exploring things will actually be able to explore it. And that is going to be one of the biggest onboarding tools.
Yes,
I think that we're going to have.
Yeah, you can have a totally different staking behavior also. I mean, for example, on PHEX, you can stake, you can have monthly stakes. I think you stake for 12 months, but you do 12 stakes in a row. So after 12 months, you have every month your income, and you just stake your principal again. And from month 13 onwards, you don't have to invest any more money. Those are things that you can do on PHEX, on Pulse. You can't do it on Ethereum. It's just too expensive unless you have a lot of money available to you.
Exactly.
Hey boys, hey! I wanted to jump in and say good day.
Hey Sammy, how you going?
Good,
Hey,
good.
Sammy.
My audio right now.
Yeah,
Much better.
Thanks,
Sorry about that. That was
great.
my AirPods.
Someone said you sounded like a purring pussy.
Someone would say that. Hey, I just wanted to add to the conversation that the first time round Richard done HEX. So this time round, any improvements that he would have liked to make to HEX that he may have done to Pulse to make it a little bit better. And Alexis 10, I just want to say hi, I'm Sammy. And I just wanted to ask a question, and it was in the chat before, and you may have already answered this because you were talking about T-shares, but out of Pulse, EHEX and PHEX, what's going to be the most FOMO'd?
I think now having the OA in Pulse the way we have it, and seeing that the fee burning and the adoption, if you all combine it together, I think that's a perfect storm. So I think there is a possibility that Pulse is performing in a way that's comparable to how HEX has performed. It's totally imaginable. I mean, if you take for Ethereum, for example, in 2013, Ethereum started at, I think, 35 cents, if I remember correctly. And that was like the first price. People who went into the adoption phase got it cheaper, obviously. And I think Ethereum then dropped from 35 cents to somewhere around 10 cents, and then it went up. I think HEX can do that also, and maybe more. I think everything is possible here. It's very bullish. The problem with HEX is much more difficult to grasp and to understand. For mainstream people, I think Pulse is pretty easy. And also Pulse has, I mean, you can delegate your Pulse to a validator and even create some kind of interest that way also. So in the end, you don't even have to pay any transaction fees. It's amazing. And the fee burning mechanism is very smart. I think another reason why Richard made the move last night was I think he now is in a position to basically run the network by himself if he needs to, because he has the biggest stake in the network.
So we need to be clear. We don't know it's Richard either.
The OA or whoever did the move. Whoever did the move, whoever is it. But I think that was also part of the intention to be able to control the network.
Yeah, I think you want to, when a network's emerging, if the wrong person or people or group has control of the network and they can push it around, whether they're being nefarious on purpose or for whatever reason, or they're just not running it as well as they should, you want to have high quality nodes that zero downtime, ensuring the security of the network is just top notch when you're getting started. Because if you cock it up at the beginning, that's hard to come back from if people lose funds or something goes wrong or there's constant downtime. So you need that quality built in. You need the assurance that it's going to run really well. Over time, more decentralization will happen.
And also, if somebody has the idea to fork post-chain, he has Richard or the OA or whoever it is in his back.
Yep.
So that's additional.
Yeah, but that's in the same way that Richard can write out people from being in the fork, like certain copycat projects. If somebody wanted to do another fork of Pulse Chain, they could just write out certain wallets or addresses as well.
I don't know about that.
I mean, well, you can. It's possible. It's a database that you can edit, but it's the social consensus, which is the important one.
Yeah. I mean, anybody can make a fork, but what happens to it,
Yeah.
Sorry, can I just cut in quickly? Can I just say happy birthday to Dominic Steed? I hope you're having a good birthday. Sorry, guys.
Happy birthday, Dominic.
Yeah. Hey, 10Alexa,
you're all having a wonderful time out there in YouTube land. Thanks for joining us on the stream so far.
Hey, 10Alexa, do you think there'll be a difference in the share price on each chain as there's different staking behavior, and what do you think that will be?
Exactly. I think there will be a difference. It's pretty difficult to predict what the difference will be, but I think there will be a difference, and I will try to show the difference, because my plan is to basically make graphs for HEX, PHEX, and Pulse to show those differences as they are merging, as far as performance is concerned, as far as interest is concerned, as far as share price is concerned. Yeah, there will be opportunities.
So basically, your workload's just doubled then.
Yeah, tripled.
Yeah. So I like that one you did with the big picture, the one that's got like the big picture, and you've got, and you got the graph and the little spaceman. It's just cool stuff. I like that. It's good. I guess what? We got another guest. And he needs no introduction. Everyone who's in the HEX community will know him for sure. It's our friend brother from another mother, Wales only. How you going there, mate? Thanks for coming. Hopefully you can hear us okay.
Yeah,
he's not used to.
Hey, Wales.
He usually uses StreamYard, but we're on Restream here.
Wales.
So yeah.
What's going on, guys? Thank you for having me on. Pleasure to be here.
I've got a question for you, Wales.
Sure.
How many hours a week do you rack up on live streams?
I actually have no idea, man. I just go on them. I don't know. I mean, it's got to be a full-time job for me at this point. I don't even know. It's crazy.
And what are you gathering, mate? I've had a couple of your messages on Twitter go over my head, mate, and I'm too scared to write anything. It's like.
No. Please ask away, man.
Has anyone? Sorry, has anyone just seen the spike on V2? That just went up to 17 cents.
What?
Really?
Get out. No way.
Where's the chart? Let's get the chart up.
Oh, so
you watching Dex.Vision?
I'll put it on. I can share mine, assuming they're all the same. So this is on Dex.Vision.
Yeah.
V2.
You got your screen you want to share? I've got this one.
This one's definitely going up. We must be looking at charts though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Sometimes I notice that.
Do you want to share Jex's instead? See what the difference is?
Oh yeah, here we go. This one. Oopsie. Hang on. There we go.
Oh yeah, look at that. Look at that wick.
So someone's just fat fingered mine.
Oh, people are keen. People are getting keen for it.
Look at the address bar. You'll notice a difference. One is uniswap.vision, the other is dex.vision.
Yep. So I'm not sure. They're both pulling from V2, aren't they? I don't know why they'd be.
I'm not exactly sure.
V2 as well.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what the data difference is, but there's a difference.
Maybe the one I'm looking at has like a TWAP to like prevent this kind of extreme wicks. Maybe.
I don't know, but they're both good.
Yeah.
They're both good because if you look at dextools.io, you can see everything happen on the chain real time. If you guys ever heard of that one, you could like launch a app there. Like they have like an app, dextools.io, and you can see like all the transactions happening in real time as long as they track the contract and they do track HEX. So that's one place to watch the on-chain activity in real time.
Nice. And one thing we know for sure is someone's keen to get in and does not care how much they pay.
Right. That's the most important thing about those wicks. You can see what it's telling you. It's not hiding, right? It's like not a secret at all. It's somebody basically saying, "I need this and I need it now." So definitely
why would someone want to get in, and why would they want to get in right now? I mean, considering that the sacrifice phase is over, and now we're in this. I mean, this is what I think. I think that we're now between now and the fork, we're in a HEX accumulation phase. If you want HEX for the fork, so you get a copy on Pulse chain, you better buy it now. Buy it now.
So on that, what's everyone's thoughts? Because that's what's been rattling around my brain as well. Is we're now in a phase where if you want the double, you've got maybe 2 months of buy time. Could be less. We don't know. That's just taking a punt on based on what Richard said. So really, we're now in a stage where if you want to get that doubling, and I'm pretty sure when this happened in Bitcoin, we've seen the price of Bitcoin rally up as well because everyone was pre-buying for the Bitcoin Cash fork.
Yep.
So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Has anyone got any thoughts on that? Whether we think that's going to?
I think. Can I just say? I think that the chance of PHEX having value is extremely, extremely high. So having HEX on the ETH side before the fork is just smart. It's just smart because it's going to have value on the other side because hexagons are committed to it. So I mean, it's like a no-brainer.
Oh, sorry.
That's right. I've stopped sharing that one, mate.
Okay, we're back into it. Got everyone?
Yeah, it seems like we're going to see a pump over the next month and a half until the fork. That would be the kind of logical. People are going to be buying HEX until that's the one ERC20 which will have the most kind of likelihood of having a good price, if not the same, if not more.
So everyone's got a different theory. Some people are saying PHEX is going to pump. Some people are saying ETH is going to retain its value. Some people are saying they think Pulse is going to be the performer. Everyone's got a theory.
I think what Blue Bum's saying is that out of the ERC20s that are going to get mirrored into PRC20s, HEX is the no-brainer one where
for sure.
You know for certain it's going to be supported on both chains. You know it's unlikely to have like low value or no value. It's got no admin keys. It's got all the criteria of everything that you would look for if you were looking for a coin to have at the snapshot or at the fork time. You know?
Yeah.
Exactly.
And I don't think you have to get clever about this either. People are trying to come up with different ways to game the system. You don't have to be clever. If you've sacrificed, you're going to get some pulse. If you're holding HEX, you're going to get double. Yeah, don't make it harder than what it needs to be, people.
Yep.
Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it.
Well, timing the market's even timing the market even. There's a little bit of I like it's good to sort of have a bit of an idea or insight to what's going on. But like if you're trying to sort of like play the swing trade game or the margin trading game, don't go there. That's a recipe for disaster, and the market will chew you up and spit you out. And that's as simple as that.
Yeah, so I'm seeing people talking about how they can play the liquidity pools and see whether that's an opportunity.
The arbitrage between ETH and HEX.
No, not so much that. But if you're holding certain coins, whether it's HEX or USDC or whatever, go and supply liquidity on V2, and then that gets transported across. And
then the bot.
Yeah, so they're thinking they might be able to game the system that way. And you just want to be really careful if you're doing that sort of stuff, because you might end up losing a valuable coin in the process when you get rebalanced.
So what are you seeing, Mr. Wales Only? What are you seeing, mate? What's sort of like what's on your radar at the moment with everything that's going on? I know you're obviously present in the community and you're streaming and you're presenting your metrics and things like that, which is sensational, by the way. Congratulations to you for sharing that, and it's very, very much appreciated, I'm sure, throughout the community. All that stuff, but just off the top of your head, mate, where are you seeing things going at the moment?
Yeah, well, I agree with everything. I agree with everything that's been said. I think we're definitely going to have some pickup, right, in the activity that we've been seeing in HEX, just because who doesn't want free coins? And it's really that simple. People love free money, and they're going to do what they have to do in order to get it. And in this case, it just happens to be buying HEX, because HEX is going to be that one thing, like you guys were saying, it's going to be supported over there, no questions asked. Everything else kind of is, well, you should expect it to, have some value to some degree. Because I'll tell you one thing, what I am seeing is a lot of, and I'm always kind of present on Twitter, so I see a lot of, like, what's the flow as far as sentiment is and how people are looking at things. Because you see a lot of back and forth on Twitter that you won't see on a stream. You won't hear in a Telegram chat, right? Like, Twitter's just a different kind of place. Like, every place has its own unique bent, and it provides its own value to a certain extent when it comes to the market. And Telegram has its value from that perspective. Twitter has its value. And what you find in Twitter is a lot clearer sentiment as far as what's actually going on, because it's kind of a place where people just go to throw their thoughts out there, right? It doesn't have to be catered like in Telegram. Like in Telegram, you go into a room, you can only talk about that thing in that room unless you want to be liable to get banned. Make sense?
Yeah.
So
now this one, 23 hours ago, Wales says before and after. And is this something to do with the sacrifice, or can you just? I know we're sort of going past, and I know this information is time sensitive as well, by the way. So if it doesn't mean anything now, or if it's that's over, could you just give us a soldier's five on what you mean by like before and after? I think it was like before the OA move, sacrifice, and then after. Is that what it was, or was it something else?
So what that was we were right below 5 billion, and I think it might have taken seconds for that thing to jump, and we were just moving at the time.
Oh, look at the price.
No, not the price. The quantity sacrificed at the time.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So if you look at the percentage sacrifice at the top, we weren't even at 1% yet.
Oh yeah. So
that was early in the morning, or late in the night for you guys.
Yep.
Early
23 hours ago, and then from 23 hours within minutes, we've gone from 0.94 to 1.1% of the HEX, and that's just the HEX sacrifice, isn't it?
Yes, and that's as a percentage of the total supply, not the circulating supply, but the total supply.
Total supply.
So where did we end up, Wales?
17.8 2%, I think it is. I mean, it's a crazy number, right? Because we're talking about HEX that's never going to be seen again, and that's it. Yeah, 7.832%.
So that's 113 billion HEX sacrificed. So,
correct.
And you look at the big payday. The big payday was 1.83 billion HEX. So that's a lot of HEX. That is a lot of HEX.
Yeah.
So, and as you say, it's just sucking the supply. It's just the supply demand, pure economics. If you look at it, and of course the fundamentals within HEX. I mean, you don't need to be a rocket scientist or a genius to figure out what that might do to the HEX price, do you? And I think we might be.
And one of the things that I hear people saying, like one of the negative things I hear people saying about the supply of HEX is that the OA owns too much or whatever. What this actually means is that the rest of the stakers, their supply is going to catch up sooner because of that. It's going to catch up sooner to what the OA has with all the interest that they're accruing being staked, because the OA is not accruing interest. It's just sitting there. We're as stakers, we're all accruing interest, and we're accruing interest at, what is it? What's the average interest? I think it's something like 37%.
You mean like the global system average, like over the past year? Yeah, I think it's greater than 35%. I'm pretty sure it is.
Is if you stake the average length. If you stake the average length, which is 5.7 or 5 point something around 5.8 or something like that, then yes, your average APY is around about 40%. That's really interesting, that, because I was looking at two identical stakes today that I made some time ago that on the same day, and one was longer and one was shorter, and the longer is in fact paying better than, I mean, as you can see the numbers, it's more T shares obviously, and then of course over time you can just see that the same principal stake for longer is outperforming the same principal stake that is has a shorter staking length. So it definitely works. HEX is definitely working, and there's a lot of most people that have invested in HEX have done reasonably well, would you say? And it is a good, very, very good sound investment but don't listen to guys on the internet like us. Do your own research.
No financial advice.
The usual spiel.
Just do the math.
Just do. That's right. Yeah.
All right. So can we do a bit of moon speculating? The sacrifice set. It's not just a one-time event, possibly. So you might get airdrops and Pulse. Any thoughts on what else it could be used for?
Well, I think Kira. Is it Kira Network or whatever? They're going to do an airdrop.
Probably might want to shelve that conversation.
Yeah. All right, I'll shelve it.
Help on the shelf.
Help on the shelf.
Forget that. Cut that out. Turf it out the window.
Yo, can I just make a comment? Can I just make a comment going back to Jex's spreadsheet? With that supply of 133 trillion coins, it means that if Pulse ever gets to $1, its market cap will be like 100x of Bitcoins.
Yeah, but you have to remember that what's the name? Pulse will burn, right? Like a quarter of the transactions will burn. So you have to take that into account too, because that's also going to be a function of like the network activity, but it is going to be high, right?
Yep.
Like I was talking about this yesterday after the stream after Richard Hart went, because we were doing like a special quant gang, and then he started streaming, so we just watched it there, and then we streamed a little bit after, and we were talking about like how this system compares to HEX because of the unit bias, right? And in the unit bias, it's really what's gonna allow Pulse to maintain its viability long term as a functioning chain, right? Because you have a lot of chains that start out full throttle, and then they end up having to pull the throttle back because of some technical drawback or something, right? And the unit bias and how Pulse is designed is going to allow that to sustain itself for a long time, because if you think about it, it's like a stripped share system. You don't have anything encapsulated in anything. It's just a bunch of little Pulse, and that's it, right? Because you're talking about 133 trillion, right? So they're really, really small in value when you sit there and think about it on the actual network, not necessarily in dollar terms, right? So this is the unique frame of thought you have to have when it comes to thinking about crypto, you have to think about things distinctly, because there is economic value systemically, and then how the world views it with respect to coming in to attain that value systemically, because you have to swap fiat in order to attain crypto or a promise coin, right? Depending on what you're trying to get. And that's, it's hard for people to make that transition in their brain from X to Y to Z squared. But that's what's happening, because you're taking fiat and you're converting it into something mathematical. It's no longer just fiat. And the question is then, are the properties of that mathematical system you're trying to engage with actually sensible? Meaning, are the actors within that system going to basically act in line with the best interest of the system, which is what causes the price to go up? And this is why when we talk about market structure and how things transact, people actually don't know what a Ponzi scheme is. People don't know what a pyramid scheme is. If they knew, we wouldn't have to have these conversations over and over and over, because it's obvious. If you need somebody else to pay more for that thing, guess what? That's kind of close to a Ponzi, whether you want it to be or not. Right? Because otherwise,
I'm just looking at other coins. I don't think there's any coin that has supply that, like, in terms of other examples of coins with supplies that high. Do you guys know of any? I don't think there are.
I don't know.
I think there are some that are in the hundreds of billions.
I know there's a couple of trillion ones that have got a trillion. I know there's some that are a trillion, but I've never.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Let me see. I think I know one.
Don't name them if they're shit coins, but So there are ones that have supplies that are over a trill.
Well, I think the biggest one I can recall off the top of my head was a trillion.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the biggest one I know of too. Trillion. Like, I just looked for it.
But we all thought the unit bias on HEX was crazy. And at the time it probably was one of the largest supply coins. But that's quickly changed. And what HEX is now, one HEX is at 13 cents. Like, we were talking 0.000056 or something was the all-time low. So
actually, I just found one. I'm not going to say what it is, but it's like a recent meme coin that actually has a 300 trillion supply, and it's actually performed quite well. So just in terms of looking at sort of like a precedent of having a super high supply.
People like those
work quite well for that coin.
The market cap thing is going to become very apparent very soon.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, true. Did you guys see that Pulse is already listed on one of the coin ranking sites that did not list HEX?
Yeah.
Is that true? The major one, or?
Yeah. A major one, yeah. I won't name it because it's like not one that we're a fan of.
Crap, that's what it is.
So, Wales, I know you joined the conversation a little bit later on, and 10 Alexa 10 was talking about the European banks and some of the moves that they're making in terms of adopting cryptocurrency or the digital currency. What are your thoughts around that in, say, America? Like, is your government moving to stop crypto, or are they trying to enhance it or adopt it as a I guess a more fungible form of transaction, or how are they approaching things over there in America? So I guess on a double-edged question, but anyway.
No. I mean, it's you have to understand politics is a funky thing. Hold on one second.
Well, not so much political. I'm talking more like the financial system. The fact that the world is, the US dollar is the world reserve peg. And the fact that they're doing that ongoing quantitative easing, and the fact that they just had the system on life support for so long. When do people start opening their eyes and seeing what's actually going on? The fact that
it's interesting. I actually think it's already happening. And the reason I think that is because, people are not opting to go to work, right? Like, while it seems contradictory, like I was thinking about this the other day, and this is what makes me think this. Who wants to rely on a government paycheck, honestly? right? Like nobody realistically wants to do that. But if you're going to make more doing that, why in the hell would you go work?
Well, that's right. If there's no incentive or motivation, I mean, money is
Correct.
a motivator or what have you. But like, if they're seeing that, oh well, they're just printing that money out of thin air and handing it out like helicopter style, and
why not?
Then
there's clearly no value to production.
It's human nature to take the shortest route from point A to point B, isn't it?
Correct. Because you're removing the incentive to provide value in essence, right? I mean, even if it is just at a job, right? You're still providing some value to some degree, right? So people are gonna, people are gonna say no thanks. I'm just gonna sit here, do nothing, play on the internet all day.
We have forms of that over here as well. We have forms of that over here where there's just like there's no incentive for them to actually go and work because they either get taxed more, they earn less than what they would get for doing nothing, and it's kind of like that. They've got to sort of flip that scenario around or crunch the numbers a bit better to give people some goal to work towards or some reason to actually want to go and do the thing, and provide value to the economy and be productive and things like that. I mean, that's I don't know. How do you address it? You've still got to have essential services in the economy. We've still got to have law and order, and otherwise society breaks down. Anyway, we're getting off track. We're getting a little bit off track.
Not in America, though.
But here's a funny thing, though, right? Even here in the U.S., there are some states that are pulling back on that tactic of just handing out free money. So, things are trying to normalize it to a certain extent, right? But also, right, just to touch on your question, there are certain states that are trying to adopt crypto. Florida's one of them, Texas is another, Nevada is another, right? So you do, Miami is trying to go in, big. So you do have some places that are more forward-looking than others. New York, California, obviously not going to be, part of that crew. Because they're part of the other crew, right? The people that would love to destroy Bitcoin and shit talked it for years and all of that. So it's you just have a dichotomy here. But the important thing to realize is that as long as you know how the internet works, you're good. So it doesn't really matter what they do.
What I found interesting is that Visa card. You can pay your bills with crypto with Visa in the United States, but that's something you cannot do in Europe. So I found that interesting because I talked to Visa here in Switzerland just yesterday, and they have, first of all, they don't know about this move in America, and they have no plans in this direction. So it's quite interesting to see that Visa America is moving into the direction of crypto, and also PayPal is exactly the same. You can pay PayPal bills with crypto in the United States. You cannot do that in Europe yet. Quite interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of those payment rail issues around different jurisdictions. Sorry, Bluey, you going to say something?
Yeah, I was watching an interview today with the Unchained podcast, and they were interviewing a couple of American regulators. So there's the SEC, the Securities Commission, but then there's the people who look at commodities. And if something is not considered a security, then it's considered a commodity. And they normally regulate all of the margin trading platforms. And so they were talking about DeFi, and it was very obvious that there was two of them there. One was a more modern guy who kind of knew what he was talking about. The other guy was the more senior guy, and he was just clueless. He was clueless as to what's going to be possible for regulation in the DeFi space. And he really, I mean, he just showed such a lack of understanding. And so even at this highest level of governments, like these people don't understand crypto. They don't understand censorship resistance and the power of that censorship resistance. And they're still kind of like in this mode of, we'll regulate it in some way. But the thing is there is no possible law that you can bring in place to regulate it. It's permissionless when it's done right, when there's no admin keys, and when it's,
Just make it illegal, man.
That's right. They can't put the genie back in the bottle. And how's that golden York in there, day 43?
Hang on, but you can't make sending information illegal. Like it's just too impossible to police. You can make it illegal. You could make it illegal. You can make anything illegal, but it'll make it impossible.
I agree with you.
To police.
I agree with you. It's that would make it very hard to police. But you can make things. I mean, there's plenty of things that are illegal, but I don't want any of this stuff to be illegal. I think it's the wrong direction to be going in. But yeah, policing it would be impossible, and they wouldn't be able to. And
I underestimated how good the technology is.
There's plenty of stuff out there like.
Well, you also have this. Like you also have this really. Look, you also have this really interesting dichotomy in America because you've got all these, people who want to have control over the financial system, but then you've got the kind of spirit of America and what America was built on in the first place, which is all about innovation and freedom to go out and create things and to not be disincentivized by rule makers and governments,
like today.
Yeah, and that spirit still exists in America. You know what I mean? That kind of those kind of values, and it was interesting. Like there was these two regulators, and one of them was very aware of that kind of this space needs to be able to have the freedom to be able to innovate and to grow, and the other one was just like. The other one was just he was clueless.
But I think they're trying to shoehorn it in from where legacy finance meets crypto. So you start there, and they're trying to slowly inch their way back in further and further into
that's exactly right.
The permissionless side of things, and trying to inch in each time. And now you need to identify if you send from an exchange to a wallet, you need to KYC this wallet. So they're trying to work their way back in from where they can. So from
they're trying to figure out what they can actually get away with.
Yeah,
that's what's going on. Yeah. This is a show. Yeah. This is theatrics. This is theatrics. They don't realize that they can't get away with anything. Exactly. So they're just gonna try to make shit illegal. Exactly. It doesn't fucking matter. So good luck to them. Exactly. This is like a conversation that we're having just for fun because it actually doesn't matter.
But if you
just shut the internet off. So.
Yeah, but if they start passing these bills, every time they pass one of these bills, if it gets accepted, then that's another set of rules and laws they can keep inching in further and further. So
let's talk about what does matter. Let's talk about what does matter. The only thing that matters.
Hang on.
Day 43. How's my golden yacht going, mate? We're going to need a bigger boat.
Unrect, I need you just to let the grown men talk here, mate. Look, they can make these laws, man. They can make these laws, but if you're tied to being in one jurisdiction, then that's a problem.
Yeah.
But if you decide that you don't like a law, the beauty of having a world where there's plenty of other jurisdictions means that you can pick up and say, guess what?
Exactly.
I'm going to go over here where they've got better laws. And that's the beauty of having a world with lots of different places. And guess what? They like to make us think that they're all on the same page. They're not on the same page, man. They are not on the same page. They're all trying to, get ahead of one another. And some places, are happy to keep things the way they are. They don't mind. If you're going to bring wealth to their country, they're happy. They're happy.
It's all about stopping the flight of capital. So rich countries need to stop the flight out. Poor countries, they want it in.
Want to attract it.
Yep.
Correct. That's why you see such deferring stances on so many different things, because some already have it and need to do what they can to keep it because they know that there's no actual growth there. So they'll institute these draconian measures.
Mm-hmm.
What other option do they have? And on top of that, society is complacent, it's lazy, it's comfortable. So it's perfect. It's perfect for governments because people don't even know what to do to go get fucking food. So it's perfect.
So
we look at the United States, right?
They've trained them.
We've all got, all of us are very lucky. We, most of us live in Australia. We've got someone who lives in Switzerland who migrated from Germany to Switzerland, and we've got Wales, who's soon to be a migrant away from.
Better believe
it. Sailor Wales,
Next island, Paradise Island. The plane.
So I mean, look, it's if governments choose to make silly decisions and go against what is inevitable, then they're going to lose. They're going to lose people. They're
going to lose in general,
like us. Yeah, they're going to lose people like
lose.
us from their country. We'll just go somewhere where they're more open to it.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much.
Yeah, but I think this whole move is wanted by the powers to be. I mean, if you look at the WEF documents, they're all talking about crypto, and that of course they want to have their version of crypto,
Mm-hmm.
But they're looking at the private sector. I'm sure they're looking at people like Richard Hart, what he's inventing and doing, and they're trying to learn from it. But the problem is they need so much more time, and so they're way behind. And it is wanted. Why is it wanted? Because it's transparent. Everybody thought blockchain is intransparent, but it's the opposite. There's a very good video on YouTube. I think it's TED Talk from an ex-FBI agent, where she explained how they worked when they were taking on this in the dark internet, this platform where you could buy passports and drugs, and I think it's called Silk Road. Yeah. Where they were taking down Silk Road. It was so funny because this lady, she was a leading FBI agent back then. She explained how they took down Silk Road and how they took down 2 undercover FBI agents the same time who wanted to basically take away some of the Bitcoins because they thought it's all intransparent, and the opposite was the truth. So they got taken down as well. And because everything is so transparent on the blockchain, immutable, and HEX especially, it's so easy for the government to move in and to say, okay, we want our share. We want to tax you a little bit there. And I mean, you can't really hide it. So they let us, get rich, and they will take their share, and that's it.
Yeah, but you said there's no capital gains tax in Switzerland, so that's a pretty good country then to have safe harbour, particularly if you're a HEX staker.
I have to be more precise. It depends on how you do it. If you are considered to be a professional trader, then you have to incorporate and you have to pay taxes on your capital gains as well. But if you are like a private person that's not trading a lot, like a typical hexicant, for example, yes, you have to pay tax on your interest, but not on your capital gains. The funny thing with HEX is there's also capital gains on your interest. So we will have to see how that evolves. It's all, it's also new. I mean, they don't know what's coming up in the tax department, but they will figure it out one day, I guess.
Do you need to hold on to it for a period of time?
In some countries you have. In some countries, you have like a speculation period, and after that period, it's not taxable. But here in Switzerland, you're either a professional trader, then you're always taxed, or you are not a professional trader, then you're not taxed. But you have a different kind of tax in Switzerland that's called Vermögensteuer. So what they do is they basically look on all your assets that you own, and if it's more like, I think, 70,000 Swiss francs, then you get a tax on all the assets you own, but that tax is very, very low.
Right.
Interesting.
Yeah, but there's so many options. You can, for example, become a citizen in St. Kitts Nevis. You can get a passport there. You don't even have to make a tax declaration. There's no.
Well, these are good problems to have when you're Hexicant, aren't they?
That's right.
Yeah. Speaking of jurisdictions and taxes, I think Portugal are making a move to change something with their visa program.
Oh, really?
Well, the interesting thing about Portugal is if you move to Portugal and you're retired, for example, and you are coming from outside of Portugal, you can take residency there, and you don't have to pay tax on your crypto. That's true.
So that's the golden visa one you were talking about, day 43?
Well, the golden visa is a little bit different because the golden visa involves an investment on your side, either in real estate or something. But the other program, you don't even have to do an investment. You just have to live in the country and spend your money there. But you have to live in Portugal at least 183 days of the year.
Do you need a passport? Do you need a passport?
I think you need an EU passport for that, though.
No, it's a D7 visa.
Is it?
You don't need.
You can go
you
to
can do foreign
Portugal
passports.
as an American. Yeah, it's a D7 visa. That's correct. So every country has, different options, and it's interesting to find that out. Of course, at the moment, I think Switzerland is good because I think the quality of life here is also good. It's not good just to look at the taxes. Well, you have to look at the overall situation in the country, how stable it is, and what rules they put in place as far as your personal freedom is concerned, and so on and so forth, especially now with this coronavirus thing. A lot of people move to countries like Thailand and you find yourself imprisoned, basically.
Yeah. So I think in Australia, we're very lucky. We've got a good quality of life, very safe place, good hospital cover and things like that. But it's only since really speaking to all the community members in HEX in the US and other countries, we realise that we are a real nanny state over here, and we are very quick to give away our freedoms and our rights with very little fight in Australia.
Why is that?
I don't know. I think we're just complacent, mate. Like it's been good, and things get.
That's right.
Yeah,
correct. Exactly as I described.
It's like boiling a
frog. It's like they get lulled into a sense of security, and then they just become like the lemmings, I suppose, that just follow a schedule, and they just go around the clock, and they're just, I don't know, as you say, like cattle.
Right. But I think we're starting all the rights and things we've been seeing around the world. We're actually now, I think someone just posted a minute ago that it's happening in Sydney now. So everyone's getting all riled up. And I think when you lock people up for too long, that's still in the project.
Yeah, and there's a wild streak in the Aussie culture that is there it's gone under the surface that you don't want to stir up. It's like I think it's like you don't want to poke the bear. You poke the bear long enough, and it'll strike you. A bit like Richard Hart. Don't make me angry. You wouldn't like me when I'm angry.
Right.
We had the Cronulla riots. They were big.
Oh yeah, that was a different story. Yeah,
it's got nothing to do with.
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, that
wasn't one of our proudest moments.
Tangent. We'll go down a tangent that we don't want to come back from. Yeah. All right. So look, we are coming up to time. We have been. Look, we really do appreciate. We're broadcasting on the Discourse Syndicate Network, and since we've been over here, our numbers have been through the roof. So clearly, there's a move on. There's new people coming into HEX, and there's finding out about HEX and the Pulse chain. There's been a lot of excitement and things like that. We've got great guests. We've got a great community, and we all link in and have these weekly conversations. And we're really it is a privilege. We don't take anything for granted, but all the viewership and patronage from the Hexicans and the broader community. We are an outreach. We are a message in a bottle. We're trying to put the word out to people to find this cryptocurrency and discover the innovation and the technology and actually how good HEX is, and actually how it can, improve your circumstances. Not financial advice, but you can really, do well in HEX. A lot of people have and will continue to because of the way it's designed, the way that the software and the code runs. It's the best. It's a true innovation. It's a how do we say it? The elegance and the beauty of the mathematics and the code is just. It's great if you understand a little bit about mathematics. You don't even need to know. You can scratch the surface. You can go right in. But anyway, a lot of people say that I bang on like an old car horn, so I'll shut up.
Look, we still have a bit of time. I mean, we just basically have to get off before we've got about 45 minutes, but we like to finish up a few minutes earlier than that time. So we've still got a bit of time. I'm interested to know, and I'd like to go through
It is Golden Gate time. Golden Gate time is coming up.
You go grab yourself
Ladies
a
and
Golden
gentlemen.
Gate time, mate. Well, you can eat it on stream. And I just want to go through everyone here and
Not
ask.
that sort of gay time. Different one.
You always do that. We know you're lying.
I would like to ask everyone. So we've finished the sacrifice phase, and now we're in the pre-fork accumulation phase. So if you believe, like I believe, that we're going to have like some price appreciation in this time, I'd just like to go through everyone and what do you think we're going to hit in this post-sacrifice pre-fork accumulation phase? Blue Bum, what do you reckon, mate? What's your moon figure?
In this next month and a half,
just before the fork, between now and before the fork.
Yeah, I'll say 30 cents. Above 30 cents, yeah.
Above 30.
Well, I'm just doing that. My logic is that. Okay.
No, sorry, go on, Blue Bum. Yeah.
Oh, my logic is that it's a month and a half to go. You at the fork, you'll double your hex. There's a good chance that the Pulse Hex will have as much, if not more, value than the ETH hex, and that the ETH hex might even dip a bit, or it might retain its value, especially over time. So if you're thinking about people get double the amount, so then double the price from here.
Cool. Alexa? 10?
Well, I'm just looking at the chart at the moment. The all-time high is, I think, around about 20 cents. So if I look at the candle from today, I think we can see new highs. And if HEX is breaking out of over the last high, it can go to 30, 40 cents. Why not? The value of EHEX and PHEX after the fork is done, well, that has to be discovered by the market. But I think the sum, I assume that the sum of EHEX and PHEX will be more than 100%.
Nice.
I think so.
What do you reckon?
I'm going to go with 25 cents.
25?
Keep it nice and conservative. And I'm writing down everyone's guesses so that we can come back to it on a future stream.
Cool. Unwrecked?
It's on the basis of the intelligence presented by present company. I'll go with the fact that we crossed that. What was it? 13.5 cent prediction in April, in July, which was pretty much bang on. I'm going to stick with the tangent Jexa combo around about 33 cents is my. Or between the range between 25 and 33 cents, I think we're going to range for target in there somewhere on the next kick up, and I think it's most likely going to be in August, because if you see it, the chart seems to go up one month, down another month, up another month. I mean, look, but hey, what do I know? I was like throwing darts at the chalkboard, having a crack,
Yep,
that's what I reckon.
Jexa.
I'll stick to my September October call of 33 cents. Probably as a base, we'll probably, if we get there, we'll push up beyond it. We'll wick up beyond it, but probably finish somewhere around there.
Sammy?
I'd like to see 25 cents, but I don't think we're going to see it, so I'm going to say 18 cents.
Oh, you're the bear.
No, that's smart to guess outside of the range, so that if it ends up being anything below that, she'll win. Do you get what I'm saying?
Well, if you have the stock split, you might have a half.
Right there.
Yeah. That is a good move.
There's just been so much sideways action. Like, really, everyone's waiting on Pulse. And, once Pulse comes out, they're going to buy HEX, aren't they? All those cheap T-shares, if there's any.
You reckon? I reckon it's a good accumulate. I reckon it's going to be a good accumulation phase for Pulse for a little while. I think the smart money. This is probably what I might do. Is I'll probably start see where the dust settles on the airdrop, and then start accumulating and buying cheap Pulse. Maybe, I don't know.
So if you were someone who missed out on Pulse,
Louis, just let's
Wales has to do.
Let the Wales get his, and then we'll just.
Sorry,
no worries, guys. No worries. So my guesstimate is 35.50 cents.
Nice.
So
that's a good one.
So you were pretty bullish earlier on in the year, calling for I think was there a $10 call at one point?
Yeah.
How do you feel on that now?
I still think it's possible because now we have so many catalytic events, right? Like an airdrop is nothing to like ignore.
Yeah.
Right. Like a copy on another fork is nothing to ignore. So when people find out that there's an actual X date in order to attain, like they're gonna try to figure it out. And that's going to cause a feeding frenzy. So we could easily see $1, and not even see it coming. That's why I'm okay with 35.50 cents. But my work is honestly showing, 70 to 90 cents. And also, if we do our usual 7X after this long sideways move, that takes us to 84 cents. So.
Yep.
Hard to say.
Easy done. Easy.
Yeah.
I mean, Richard Hart even said he's got a 4X in his back. He's got a 4X in his back pocket in his stream the other day.
And exactly, that's just a 4X, man. Like 4 or 5X, that's nothing, right?
Not to what we've seen, not compared to what we've seen in HEX.
10 cents was a barrier, but as soon as we broke it, we moved past it very quickly.
Yeah.
Once we hit $1, then you start talking in dollars. So to go from $1 to $2, it's
a different conversation.
Do you guys think that some people might try and buy a lot of HEX before the snapshot on the ETH chain and then just dump it straight afterwards and just keep the mirrored coins?
A lot of people
see like a pump and dump around the fork.
I reckon that's the bad move. Everyone's talking about it. I reckon it's a bad move.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, that theory has already been crafted. Hey?
Oh, everyone, and then the theory goes, well, everyone's going to try and front run that.
So then the pump will be way before, and then the dump will be actually before the fork as well.
But hang on,
so you can get.
I love it. Get rich quick, ladies and gentlemen.
Front run the second part because you have to wait for the fork to get the free coins.
No. So they'll front run the dump.
So okay. So people who already have HEX selling into the pump.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's all high risk.
That's a one-way ticket to Rec City.
Yeah.
The only thing I'd say about that is that just before this fork, we've had this unprecedented, this other phase, the sacrifice phase. So a lot of this spare, HEX has been taken out of the supply.
Diamond handed.
It's slightly different dynamic now going into this fork than most a lot of other forks because people have had an incentive to get rid of what they had just lying around. So it might be a little bit different. I'm expecting a pump. I'm expecting. I think we're going to get close to that 10,000x mark. I think we might wick up to it quickly. I don't know if we'll stay there very long, but I think we'll hit the 10,000 mark. The 10,000x. Blue Bum, you were talking before, mate. I cut you off.
I was just as a hypothetical. Let's say you were seeing all of this, realized you missed the sack phase, and let's say, oh fuck, I missed out on the sacrifice phase, but I want to get Pulse. I want to be in on this. What would your tactic be?
It's an interesting question because you can obviously only buy Pulse or get Pulse on the Pulse chain, in the beginning at least. And everything starts at 0 on the Pulse chain. So what does have actual buying power to buy Pulse? I mean, you can't. Of course, there will be a trading pair between Pulse and PHEX, for example, but PHEX also starts at 0. So how can you buy Pulse? With what currency? For example, if you have USDC, and if you speculate that USDC, of course, it will also be forked. And what will be the value or the buying power of USDC compared to everything else on Pulse? Will it be also 0 or will it be more than 0? If for example, USDC will be more than 0 and everything else starts at 0, maybe USDC is the best weapon to use.
So you can't hold any ETH because if you're holding ETH at the fork, you get bugger all for it on the other side. if you hold USDC, you're hoping that USDC works at a 1-to-1 on the other side.
It would be less than 1. That's less
your
than
best
1-to-1.
option is to buy HEX
or any ERC20. Like,
but
probably HEX is the best one.
So,
but any ERC20 and then dump it immediately when the chain launches.
That's how you would get Pulse. Yeah.
The other way is using. I spoke about being in a liquidity pool. You can be.
What Jex has said before. Yeah.
But how can you buy Pulse with PHEX if PHEX also starts at 0? Everything starts at 0.
No, but
it'll have a pair.
But hang on, the bots come in and they put the ratios back up to what it was on the ETH side.
The ratios are not the price.
Right.
Yeah, that is the price.
But you'll still be able to trade it.
That is the price.
But everything starts at 0. So
but soon after it'll get a price. Like pretty soon after.
Yeah, but the problem to buy Pulse with PHEX, number one is, do you really want to lose your PHEX? You want to have both, right? You want to have Pulse and PHEX. So you have to come with something that is neither Pulse nor PHEX, and you have to come with something that has a value.
So you want to go, if you want to do that, you want to be in the ETH USD liquidity pool. So then when it moves over, you'll get given a heap of Pulse in the
I will have everything.
I'm not saying do that. I don't think that's a smart play, but that is one way you would get Pulse.
I don't know what the best play will be, and so because I don't know it, I will have everything, but I also will have USDC in the hope that it has some value, and if I'm fast enough that I can get cheap Pulse or cheap PHEX, whatever.
You could offer to someone to buy OTC as well, in terms of if you knew that someone was in the Pulse sacrifice, you could negotiate with them to buy OTC. You could also, I think, you know how you're saying you don't want to lose your PHEX, you could just buy double as much PHEX as what you actually want and then sell half of it into Pulse once that pair exists. So that, I think what Blue Bomb's trying to highlight is there's so many different ways you could go about it, but probably the best one is actually owning HEX at the fork and selling it into Pulse.
Yeah. And it's just more and more bullish stuff for HEX, basically. Like if you want to get your hands on Pulse, buy HEX right now.
I'd like to think that most people in crypto would have at least a small portfolio in terms of a range of ERC20s, and just dumping them all into Pulse would be a way that someone would be able to generate at least a small amount of Pulse.
It's just so risky with all of those other ERC20s, isn't it, though?
Did anyone, there's a slightly different tangent, did anyone sack from a number of different wallets just in case there's future airdrops?
I did.
I did, because I'm not a whale, so it made sense for me.
Hang on, do you mean deliberately going from multiple wallets in case there's airdrops that are not ratioed, like not pro rata, like that they are just basically any address that's in that list gets dropped?
Same as Uni did.
Hey, we saw that with Uniswap. We saw that with Uniswap and everything. Like that was massive. That was
but
huge.
They still, with those airdrops, they still actually had other formulas of the amount that you get based on what you've done in the past. And I think the whole point of this sacrificing address list is that it is ratioed by the size of your sacrifice.
Well, look, you can choose to use that sack set however you like.
I agree. I agree that someone could come along and just go, I'm just going to use the addresses and not worry about what the volumes were. But the design of it was really to look at volume.
Yeah, I totally agree.
But that is smart. It's something I didn't think of.
Yeah.
Do you really think that we have a chance of any other airdrops? Like I
think it's a high possibility.
I think Sten's Foundation donations are going to get some sort of airdrop. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I do. I think the people who did a donation to Sens, that list of people or that list of addresses is known. So there might be...
It's only 2,000 people.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
I heard that number, which surprised me that was quite low like that.
Those addresses
Given
are
the
known, so they could get airdropped something by someone who.
I mean, it'd be total. It wouldn't be a business decision for the person. It would just be a total gift for those people who donated to Stearns.
I think part of the problem that probably kept that number down was that for anyone in a country where you didn't get a tax advantage from it,
that's right.
It made it. It just did it. The incentive structure was slightly different.
Yeah. But you didn't have to. You didn't have to go and donate like tens of thousands of dollars to.
That's a good point.
You could have just made a donation to it, just like, okay, well, I think that this is a reasonable amount. I'm still getting 75% of it.
Yeah.
So really, I'm only losing 25% if I'm not getting a tax benefit. So I think it would have been.
The other thing I was thinking,
you can still donate now. You might not get any Pulse thing for it, but you can still donate now.
Yeah, you can still donate.
Yeah, you can donate.
The other thing I was thinking is you could. I'm not suggesting that anyone does this because it wouldn't be legal, but you could still claim that you made a donation to a charitable organization on your tax, and it would only be if you got audited that they would say, hey, this isn't a registered charity for Australians to donate to, or whatever country you happen to be in. And then you would be like, oh, whoops. And it would look like a genuine mistake. I'm not personally doing this, but it would look like a genuine mistake. And you'd be like, look, I'm really sorry. It is a real charity, and here's the proof that I really did donate to it, and I didn't realize that there was like restrictions on what is tax deductible and what isn't in terms of donating to charities. And then just the most they would do is make you just pay the tax back.
If your crypto is held by a business or a company entity in Australia, I think Jex, is it maybe possible that you could.
It's not a donation per se. It's a sponsorship or something that you can maybe claim through your business.
Yeah. So maybe if it was through a business, you'd have to.
Those 2,000 addresses, that the people that are assigned to those that donated to Sens, I think they get the first stab at the elixir of life.
And that's down at the boutique down there. They just basically put an IV drip in. It's a holy grail, they call it. They just like an IV drip. They just put it straight into your arm. It's high potent vitamins and minerals and everything that's essential for longevity.
Do you think Richard's going to be first in line?
Probably.
Probably.
Hey, Unwrecked, that sounds better than the gel you were telling me about earlier today.
Hey mate, don't worry about that. That gel's
telling me about some gel that you can wipe onto your balls.
You rub it on your nuts. Yeah.
So just nimbin
stimulates the testosterone.
Sammy was sleeping.
Everyone wants to go 5 morning classes here. Come on.
Sorry.
It's all gone pear-shaped.
We might have to wind this up. We are coming up the time. We do have Kinetics stream coming up, and then a little bit later, I believe coffee. Wales, mate, do you want to shill your channel? I know you're doing great stuff, and you're on just about it all the day with your chart set, and and you're in with the quant gang and things like that. Do you want to just give us a bit of a shill your stuff, mate? Where to find you?
Sure. I have my own channel on youtube.com/Wales Only. I'm actually going to do an emergency stream within the next 24 hours because everybody needs to know what's going on. The IMF has basically issued $650 billion worth of SDRs to several governments around the world in an effort to subvert the crypto effect. Now, I'll go into this on the stream. It's a lot to talk about, but it's definitely high priority. So I don't know when the hell I'm going to do it, but I need to do it. I'll probably do it tomorrow morning because there's like nothing going on at that hour on a Wednesday. Is tomorrow Wednesday or is it? Yeah, it's Wednesday, right?
It is for us.
Yeah.
It is for us, yeah.
Tomorrow morning for us.
What day is today?
It's Tuesday today for us.
Yeah, it's Tuesday here. Yeah, okay. So I might do it tomorrow morning or I might do it tonight. I don't freaking know, but I need to find a place to do it because there's so many streams and stuff. But I want everybody to catch it because it's really, really important. Because this is something that everybody needs to know because this is the tools. This is the tools that they use to subvert us and what we're trying to accomplish, which is attaining our freedom.
Mate, I love your streams. I love watching your stuff. and I always learn
Appreciate
something
it,
when I watch your stuff, mate. And I'm
Appreciate
sure
it,
all the Hexicans get on behind Wales Only. His analysis and tech and maths and things like that is really, really up there. All right, and 10Alexa10, graphshex.com. Thanks for coming on. It's been a real privilege having you and having the conversation. I've obviously been watching your graphs, and we've used them as thumbnails in our stream, and it's much appreciated. And we've seen you how long we saw you on the Discord Syndicate many moons ago as well, and it's been really great to be on the journey with you and all the Hexicans that are on the journey with Hex. No matter when you come in to Hex, there's always something going on. It's been great. A tangent. Where can we? 10Alexa10. You want to sort of say anything? Final words before we close the show.
Yeah, thank you for the invitation, and I really highly recommend the Quant Gang. I think they're doing a really great job, all three of them. And yeah, thank you to Richard Hart. That's all.
Great, man. Tangent, your channel, mate.
Yeah, I mirror that. Richard Hart has changed the game, and my channel's I think it's just Hex Tangent, Hex_Tangent on YouTube. That's
this one.
There.
Righto. Beautiful stuff, lads. Sammy, how you going? You got the Queen, the Hex Queen jersey on there, darling. You're looking snazzy.
I won this, so I'm a pretty lucky girl, actually. Yeah.
What do you have to do for that?
Do a testimonial for Richard Hart's, or just Hex, but for Maddie.
You love him. You simple Richard Hart.
I want to say I love Richard, and he's awesome. And I've got his dolls, so hopefully they'll be coming soon, so I can hug them every night. And
I want some more Barbie memes. I want some Richard Hart Barbie memes.
Yes.
Yeah. And follow Sammy Chico. Watch me fight all the trolls on.
I want to see the doll doing hex flexes. I want you to buy stuff for the doll, and the doll can do a hex flex.
For sure. There'll be lots of fun. Believe me when I get them. These guys won't miss it at all.
Right. Well, that's wonderful. Jexa, how are you travelling, mate? Thanks for all your insight and your calculations tonight. I think that's a lot of people really like listening to the voice of reason that you've got, and the sensible voice amongst us, which is good.
That's a worry if I'm the sensible one. Always good to come on here, and nice to have the guests on and chat with different people all the time as well. I don't have a YouTube channel or anything per se, but I've got the website, hexsafe.win, where you can go and just beef up your security. You're going to need it. If we pump up to 50 cents, like everyone's saying, you got to look after that. So visit there. That's about it from me.
Good on you, mate. And I noticed that 10Alexa10 is also, you've done a PowerPoint with the upgrading your hot wallet to a hard wallet using a Trezor. There's one of your a new one in your slide pack there under general. I believe it's to do with the Trezor, and it's just a basically 17-step process. That was really simple. I don't believe I freaked out when I did that, and I don't know why I was freaking out. But it was really a lot easier than I thought it was. So don't be afraid of it, everyone out there. If you're still using a hot wallet and you want to migrate over to a little bit more secure device, such as a Trezor, that's one we recommend here. But yeah, Bluey. Sorry, Dave,
Bluey.
No, good. Thanks a lot, 10Alexa, for coming on. I really appreciate it. Love your site and really appreciate everything you've done and you are doing for the community. And I'm very keen to see how PHEX and EHEX diverge in all of these different metrics over the course of time. It'll be very interesting. And yeah, thanks a lot for coming on.
Yeah, thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you.
And Unwrecked, before we wind up, let's have a last look at this chart, because it looks like things are pumping right now. Okay. Look at that.
Yeah,
what is this the right chart?
Nah.
We have 14 cents now.
What's the time frame on that? 15 minutes? Yeah, that's all right chart.
13.7.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize you were going to pull the chart up. I was just looking at what the price has been doing while we've been on stream. I can't remember exactly what time we started. Oh, here we go. Like here, it would have been this. This is the time that we started. So I'm going to pull that back. So the price has basically just been going up literally the entire time we've been streaming. It's no longer a meme.
Fucking yes.
I've got my little laptop around here. I'm pressing the buy button. I'm going smashing the buy over here. Just ding, 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 jackpot.
This is going off.
It's the DS Syndicate Late Show pump, ladies and gentlemen. Get in some of that. And here we are. We're off to the track. We're nearly there, isn't it?
So if you had bought HEX at the start of the
you want to claim it?
you would have already made money.
Pretty much.
Yeah, massive. I mean, I think this is the candle that we started on, or the start of this candle. So you'd be where have we got? Just remember that past performance is not. Yeah, you'd be over 10% up.
10% in 2 hours.
But we can't guarantee this for future streams. But yeah, it's pretty frequent.
We've got a pretty good record so far.
We have the
IMF one in.
This is
right. Well, it's just about Golden Gate times, ladies and gentlemen. And I've got to go and set up the strippers pole in the bedroom. So I've got to go and do that. I got the birthday cake, Golden Gate
we know
time.
You're
and everything.
serious, Unwrecked. We think you're joking, just in case.
I know there'll be photos later on.
All right.
Yeah, he doesn't have to go set it up. It's already there.
Oh, so he's lying about that. Got it.
Well, they say we'll never let the truth get in the way of a good story, do we, ladies and gentlemen? And it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed the chat, and look, it's wonderful. All the viewers that are watching live, and if you're watching this on restream, make sure you get across onto hex.com. Very, very simple. Buy your ETH, swap it for HEX, stake your HEX. It's the way to do it. Stake it till you make it, and that's it's great. And it is true innovation, and it's true life changing. And be your own boss if you want to be your own bank. That's what you want. That's how you do it with HEX. Very, very enabling and powerful for everyone out there. And I encourage you to at least have a look at it. Do yourself a favour. All right. Thanks everyone. Coming up, we've got Kinetics, and we'll bid you all well. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. And continue to have a wonderful time. And we'll see you all next week at the same bat channel, same bat time. And we'll be back. And make sure you tune into all the other streamers and support the DS network. Thank you.
Cheers.